Basketball is back. The NBA season tipped off earlier this week, and there's already conversation about so much surrounding the league, including talk about the need for rule changes or changes to the game surrounding players and stars not being able to suit up for games and including the style of play. So let's get into some NBA talk. We're going to do it with my guy, Jarod Hector of True Hoop, who joins me now. Jarod, what's going on, man?
I am good, Dexter. 5 days into the new season? Everybody's losing their mind already.
5 days into the season, and people are like, the NBA needs to do this. They have problems with this. We're going to I'm intrigued to hear your thoughts, right? Because, Jarod, some conversation that you and I have both seen on NBA Twitter stems around whether or not the league has a good TV product, right? Some are citing that there's too many three-pointers, especially after we saw the Boston 3 party against the Knicks on opening night in the game right now, and they want to see more play above the rim. So my first question to you is, does the NBA have a good product to view on TV?
Yes, I believe it does, right? Because I think the talent in the NBA has never been greater and deeper than it is at this moment right now. I think we have a problem with the manner in which the product is delivered in terms of the amount of times it is on our television. And there's also a problem in the way in which some of our fellow colleagues in the media discuss the game of basketball. Yes, a lot of teams take threes because we realize three-pointers matter. However, not every team generates their threes the same way. The way the Indiana Pacers generate their threes, their multiple stacking actions, versus the way the Dallas Mavericks do it with single high pick and roll are very different, right? And I think the nuances of that game can be celebrated and explained, just like the NFL does, right? But for some reason, NBA media feels though, particularly the talking heads, they have to talk down or talk stupid to their fans and say, "Oh, you're all just jacking a bunch of threes. Jump shooting teams don't win championships." And all these stupid narratives we hear, and it's really a problem.
Yeah, I'm always intrigued about these narratives that still continue, even though they've been proven to be wrong. We've seen teams that shoot a lot of jumpers, that have spacing, that have good ball movement, that have a variety of different kinds of actions, win championships, but these narratives somehow still exist, right? Now, other talk has surrounded stars being available to play. Right, we've been hearing this the last couple of years with load management, especially following Sixers stars Joel Embiid saying before the start of this season that he likely wouldn't play in back-to-backs for the rest of his career. Philadelphia also has Paul George injured right now and not playing. So are some stars not being available during the regular season? Is that a problem for the league?
Yeah, so as I mentioned before about how the product is being delivered and how many times it's on our TV screen, this all goes part and parcel as part of the problem. There are too many games. The schedule is way too crowded. And if the NBA is going to focus so much on the postseason, well, you're not going to have 82 games of intense basketball and expect those star players like Joel Embiid, Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, etc., to be healthy come the playoffs, right? That's just not going to happen. What you need to do is cut down the schedule. Now, everyone's going to freak out and say, "You can't cut the schedule down," and start losing their minds. And it's like, but why? What is the reason we can't cut the schedule down? Just because owners have stadiums they have to fill, that is not the NBA's responsibility to give owners 41 dates of basketball games. Hey, you decide you want a $2 billion arena? You figure out what to put in it. Get monster truck rallies, get the ice capades. I don't care. Figure out what you got to do. But it is not the NBA's responsibility to now give you 41 guaranteed dates. However, since the 30 owners run the league and tell Adam what to do, yes, they tell him, yeah, we need 41 guaranteed games, which is why reducing the schedule will never happen. I've said this a million times. I've spoken to independent sports scientists, and they've all said to a man and woman, the maximum times an NBA player should play over any 7-day period is twice. And we know they do way more than that. But, who cares about science?
Yeah, I also had talked to somebody about that works in the realm of sports medicine and gave me the same exact thing and talking about they played too many games and when we talked about injuries. So it always makes me wonder, Jarod, when you hear people talk about wanting a good TV product, and we're hearing this from some of our colleagues, but then also say they're concerned about the injuries. I'm like, well, if you want the better TV product, maybe just reducing the games would help with that TV product.
Not rocket science, folks.
Just me.
It really isn't.
Feels like it isn't that deep. Okay, so when you look at the two things that we just discussed, right, there's been some discourse among media and also fans that the NBA needs to, quote, change the rules. If these things that have been talking about, right, that we are talking about, are actually affecting the league, what are the real viable solutions to solve these problems?
I mean, there's been talk about sort of getting rid of the corner three, right? Making it a true arc for the 3-point shot, right? So everything that's the corner three would just be 2 so that, you eliminate that easy part of the game. I mean, sure, you'd have to do some things where you change the court dimensions a little bit. I mean, I've always been a fan of Look, the game has evolved since 1920, right? Athletes are bigger, faster, stronger, yet the court is still the same length and width that it's been. Maybe widened a little bit, maybe lengthened it a little bit. Like, I'd be fine with different things like that. But again, that would require issues with seating and courtside seats, which will cost the most money, right? All these things eventually come down to a select few, right? Billionaires and people who sit courtside who are like, no, we can't move them, and right. So instead, literally these other tweaks we can do. Ultimately, to me, I don't think any of those changes matter. I heard someone say make the three worth four, and it's like, okay, sure. Look, none of that to me ultimately matters. What ultimately matters is if you want the quality of the product to, or if you want people to enjoy it more, have your media people, our fellow colleagues, talk about the game differently. Talk about why Denver is so much different than the LA Lakers. What is it that they do differently? How do they revolve around their big man versus Anthony Davis and LeBron? Like, you can do that, right? Do it the way the NFL talks to its fans. It's possible. But for whatever reason, the NBA likes to make everything reductive in the NBA media, and it's about who has enough alpha dogs and all this nonsense. And it's just, I don't know, man. We lost the plot.
Yeah, I feel like the conversation could be better. You could have a little NBA with nuance. It could happen. That would be nice.
Possible.
Last thing for me, Jarod. When we look at just the first week of games that we've seen, we haven't even completed a full week. What are some things that have caught your eye and that you're also looking forward to see as we move forward in the season?
Well, those Boston Celtics that you mentioned, right? Their first two games, they won them both by 20 plus points. Granted, the Wizards are not exactly anybody's murderer's row, but still, I think coming off a championship, I'm always interested to see how does a team look. And the Celtics look like they're like, hey, man, this wasn't any 1 year fluke. We're here to prove it again. I like that. Indiana and Tyrese Halliburton, while they looked pretty good in their first game, their second game, and Tyrese especially, not great. I'm keeping my eye on him. And in Denver, the loss of KCP is a problem, obviously. And then Jamal Murray did not look good in game one. I have some real concerns about Denver because you still have Nikola Jokic, three-time MVP in his prime. What are we doing here, right? Is this a situation? Is Jamal Murray ever going to be an all-star? Is he capable? Is there a longer-term injury or an injury that has sapped him from his superpowers, right? And so that's what I'm kind of keeping my eye on early. Of course, Oklahoma City and what I think they can do with their youth and upside, and Victor Wembanyama in San Antonio.
All right, lots of good things to keep your eye on and lots of good ways to talk about the NBA. We'll do a lot more of that as we move forward into the season. That is Jarod Hector. Check out his fantastic work on True Hoop. Jarod, as always, appreciate talking with you, my guy. Thank you.
Thank you.